The Earth, the resource which ultimately sustains us all. Yet we are failing to sustain it. Today, a new report warns the global temperature rise is currently on track to reach 2.7 degrees Celsius by the end of the century. And with it, risk more flooding, drought and wildfires. Its release was marked with a sobering warning by the UN Secretary-General just days before the Global Climate Summit in Glasgow.
We are still on track for climate catastrophe. This report is so another thundering wake-up call. How many more do we need?
The report by the UN Environment Programme finds that current national plans will cut predicted 2030 emissions by 7.5% compared to previous commitments, while a 55% reduction is needed to meet the goal set in Paris of limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. All this means that the Earth is currently on track for temperature rise of at least 2.7 degrees this century.
With lockdowns and travel restrictions, the pandemic did blunt global emissions, but with the world reopening, those emissions will rebound. Campaigners are hoping that today's report sounds the alarm bell, but scientists are stressing that whilst we are making tentative progress towards reducing emissions, the targets that are being set are nowhere near ambitious enough if we're to avert the worst impacts of climate change.
Today's report says the key hope of stopping the catastrophic rise in global temperature is by leading industrial countries like the UK and China, which still uses coal power, to collectively commit to a policy of net zero emissions until 2050. But that means completely transforming all our economies from fossil fuels to green technology at a vast cost.
Do you think it's politically realistic to expect them to make these commitments?
That expense that we're talking about here is negligible compared to the expenses of the climate catastrophe that we would otherwise head towards. Look, we've been a hydrocarbon civilization for quite some time. There's no reason why, just like we were a steam engine civilization for a while there, there's no reason why we can't make the shifts.
But achieving that will take political leadership at next week's COP summit in Glasgow.
It just needs a bit of vision and a bit of leadership now to avoid some pretty devastating things that might be down the track in a few years' time.
If one needs a reminder that the world faces a tipping point over the climate crisis, these images from Italy today speak volumes of the huge agenda facing the COP summit next week in Glasgow.